right. So, Swaddi again for those people who have just come in. I'm glad to see there's quite a number of interest on this topic, which means that at least many of us have not given up to take part in an attempt to shape a better media for this country. I think in terms of such a polarization in this country, I think many of us, including the media members, the Thai media members themselves, find it very difficult to perform to the expectation. But I would say that despite all the differences, we're still here and we still have to live together. And so we will have to find a way forward. I think we would all agree, I would assume that we would all agree that the media in a time of difficulty like this would at least do one thing, which is to let us have all or hear all of the arguments from all sides, and at least have some correct information, so that we can perform our duty as a well-informed citizen. And what we don't want is the carefully selected information that represents only one side of the argument, or raise or suppress another side of the argument, or even lies or hate speech. I think we don't want that. I myself have been working from the south of Thailand for almost 2 years, and I think I know full well how one-sided information can fuel hate and stir up conflict. And sadly speaking, what I have seen in Bangkok, I think we are following what's happening in the south of Thailand. Therefore, I think although this is just a small session, but I think we should begin somewhere. This is not the first time that we come together to talk about the Thai media, and I don't think it's going to be the last time. And I wish it's not going to be the last time either. In this session, I just hope that we will all take part in our discussion with cool heads and giving our arguments in a reasonable manner, just so that we are participating in a constructive conversation. Because we have heard enough of harsh words, which takes us nowhere. So without much further ado, I have introduced our speakers, and I think I should like to start from Kun PIPOB, who would represent the audience. Kun PIPOB has monitored the media quite closely. I myself have been one among of those fans who have following his Facebook page, and I'm amazed at his attempt, the energy that he spent trying to monitor how the Thai media behave in these difficult circumstances. I'd like to give the floor to Kun PIPOB to reflect on the Thai media and its coverage for the political crisis. Please.
Good evening, and thank you, NAULNOI, for your pretty beautiful introductions and a little bit exaggerated in a way. Yes, I think I have written a lot in my Facebook, and I have gained quite a large number of some followers recently, particularly many people, many Thai peoples who cannot, have access to international media, and many of them, have been bombarded with this pretty one-sided information and even misinformation, even misinterpretations of many of the foreign media news. Just to give you an example, yesterday there was a pretty well-known online website that features an article written by someone pretty senior in journalism in Thailand. And basically this is an article published in The Guardian in UK, and it is an analysis of lobbyist corporate, a PR company in fact. Its name is Bell Pottinger, and to my very intriguing, feeling, the Thai author who claimed to have rendered the contents of the article into Thai. The first 8 paragraphs of the article she penned have nothing to do with the article in The Guardian. Basically, the Thai author simply put her own thoughts in, by claiming that, all the negative representations of the current demonstrations have been attributed to Mr. Thaksin. So basically, the author of this article claimed that the Thai article, not the Guardian's article, the Thai author claimed that Mr. Thaksin already bought all the media in the West. She claimed that, through lobbyist company, through PR company, CNN, BBC, all the like, they have all been bought. And that explains why, there has always been negative representations of the demonstrations in Thailand. Of course, many people know that this won't be an easy task, And you might be even more intrigued to know that since last week there was pretty wide circulations among social media, audience that it's about a report of a lobbyist company in the US, which claims to have been hired by the Thailand's Ministry of Foreign Affairs to lobby the White House. In the report it said the White House. Of course, no one can lobby the White House. You have to lobby the US Congress. So basically the Thai report goes that the Foreign Ministry has signed a contract with a lobbyist company based in USA, asking this company to lobby, the U.S. authorities in order that the U.S. government will build a naval air base in Thailand. And they claim that this is, a breach of violations of a constitutional provision, Section 190, which ban, any contract with foreign government prior to approval from the parliament. And the report even goes further that the Thai government paid $20,000 for this company to lobby the US Congress. I mean, just looking at the amount of money, $20,000 to lobby the US Congress. I mean, to many people, you don't have to know the detail, but you won't be convinced that, this $20,000 would do in order to hire, a company to do some kind of very high profile lobbying work. I mean this and this thing has been going around. Another thing is this 5 million saga. I'm not sure if you heard about it, but it's been very widely circulated among social media audience in Thailand that both CNN and BBC have relied on their satellite image to calculate that the number of the people who took to the street on the 10th of December was 5.7 million and 5 million people. And of course, no one can find the source of such information. Because if you ask Jonathan Head, who was here, I'm not sure if he is still here, and Jonathan Head, the BBC correspondent, already denied these reports through his Twitter account on the, a few days ago already that, he didn't talk about the number. He simply say it was a tremendous number. He didn't say any figure. And CNN, of course, but in the news report, the BBC put it to 150,000. That's pretty big, isn't it? Well, and the CNN put it at 100,000 or 150,000 people. And that, I think, pretty close. The biggest number I ever stumble on in foreign media is from Mainichi Shimbun, a Japanese newspaper, which put it at 250,000, which is pretty big. But they also said in the report that they got the information from the military, from the army. Anyway, there is no whatever source that confirm even the BBC or the CNN. But this posting has been circulated so widely that both BBC and CNN reported the figures at 5.7 million and 5 million people. And you know what? This posting was shared even by the former section of ASEAN, Dr. Surin Pissawan, also shared this posting that there were 5.7 million people taking to the street. All these big names people, well, I'm afraid, I have to tell you, even one of the board members of FCCT also shared this posting. The president of the Thailand Journalists Association of Thailand, he also shared this kind of information. And so I think this has made many people upset, how the middle class, so-called, and these pretty highly educated people are twisting all this information and, taking advantage of this electronic media. They are pretty good at, waging war through this electronic world. And so, but I think it reflects a very Thai characteristic. They want to win the war. They want to win this all-out war. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, how much Thai society as a whole have to pay. They don't really care. This political turmoil, owing to the unrest of the movement, mainly led by this middle class in Thailand, I think has been reportedly described as a crash. It's a social warfare, social class warfare. I put it that way in one of my postings in my Facebook account, and I got attacked quite ferociously by people because they think. Because if you go and ask people who take to the street now, they would say we are a classless society. There is no more class. Well, but if you read, if you green through all the international media, you will find a lot of this, social class warfare, the clash between the middle class Bangkokians and the rural, the rural folk, the rural poor folk. So on one hand, we have these traditional elites who join hands with the middle class, and they want to impose their morals. This is very important. This is a very important characteristic of this demonstration. They claim that they are good people. They claim that they are not corrupt. They claim that they want to cleanse the country. They claim that the country has been wrecked by this very dirty, corrupt, unscrupulous force, namely the Shinawat family. I mean, this is very interesting because they claim that they want to unroot the Thaksin regime. But look at what they want to do. They want the whole Shinawat family to stay abroad, to put their hand off politics. They're not, because on the stage they don't talk about the regime or any system. Why? Because even the Democrats who they are the main political party behind this demonstration, undeniably, they already resigned from their memberships, they already resigned from their executive positions in the Democrat Party, but people in the whole world know very well, Nick know very well how these people, in the Democrat Party are involved in abusing him. So, but the thing is they try to claim that they want to cleanse, this politics. They want to bring a new, system to Thailand, but they fail to spell out in detail, what kind of political system they want to bring in replacement of the current system. But if you read between the lines, it's very simple. As soon as the Shinawat family stay abroad, it's the end. So they're not opposed to the regime. They are opposed to the family. They are opposed to these individuals who are related to Mr. Thaksin. I mean, so that's caused a problem, of course, because many people are still packing this family and another thing that might surprise many of you is we have had 81 years of democracy, to be precise. And in fact, we are one of the first countries in the world that introduced universal suffrage. We changed from an absolute monarchy into democracy in 1932. And the next year, in 1930, we have the first general election, and both men and women went to cast their votes. This universal suffrage was introduced here earlier than Japan, earlier than Italy, earlier than France even. So, but at this age, if you follow news now, you might be surprised. People are talking the president of a university like Nidda University, a very main higher education institution in Thailand. He's suggesting that maybe we cannot stick to this one man, one vote. What he is saying is that, some well-educated people should have maybe more votes than the folks who, barely read or write. But of course, this literacy thing is pretty high in Thailand anyway. But this is very interesting because we have had this, universal suffrage for so long, but somehow this issue comes up, and it's the first time. Look, because even after the military, staged the coup, seized the power, torn down the constitutions and things, And when any election is resumed, in every election, there is no question whatsoever. It's about this one man, one vote. Even the military respects this one man, one vote principle. But now we have the president of this prestigious university who's suggesting that maybe we have to change this system. And another claim that they have made against electoral politics, the enemy, is that Thai politics are so teamed with vote buying. Even the Democrats, even Kun Suthep Thakksuban, who is the Secretary General of what they call the People's Democratic Reform Committee. I think I pronounced the name correct. I don't find it's quite very reforming or something. Anyway, even Kun Suthep came out very strongly. He gave an interview the other day to international press saying that, look, these Thai politicians that bought their way into the parliament, but he may forget that he was one of the politicians. But you know what? The claim that vote buying plays a big role in Thailand is a myth, really a myth. And there are researchers, there are studies that attest to the fact that vote buying doesn't play a big role anymore in our politics. I live out in Chiang Mai. I moved there about 10 years ago. I never once got any money from casting the vote. And I never saw anyone got the money too. Why? Even you send among Thai people, we would say, if you send an electric pole as a candidate to run in that constituency, the party will win. If they choose the party, basically, you can send Mr. A or Mr. B. The local constituents to choose them. And there are researchers to, confirm this. For example, there was a research commissioned by the Election Commission of Thailand, the highest body governing elections in the country. It was conducted in 2011, the year of the election. And they found that half of the respondents said that they had accepted the money from the candidates, but they did not cast their votes for them. And then the other half also said they had not received the money, but they would still vote for the favorite candidates. And so this shows pretty obviously how vote buying play a very minimal role now. During the elections in July 2011, there was international monitoring, this international mission to monitor at different poll stations throughout the country. And the biggest one was led by ANFREL, the Asian Network for Free Elections. And they found nothing, significantly wrong about. And I quote the head of the mission from ANFREL, who said that the election period, in particular, election day on July the 3rd, was managed well and without any major incident, which would call into question the election result. So that what the head mission say, and it also concludes in the report that generally despite some flaws, the election period to this point was orderly and provided couldn't read it. and provided proper means through which to have their voices heard. Basically, the head of the mission of ANFEL said that the election result reflect what the majority of the Thai people wanted, and of course everyone knows because this political party, this coalition party has won in every major election in the past 2 decades. So I mean this proved pretty well that another thing that so what happened with these demonstrations? I think to explain this, it's very simple because prior to Thaksin's first massive win to power in 2001, peacefulness in Thailand was claimed to have been attributed to the country's trinity: the nation, the religion, and the king. The nation institution is generally linked to the country's strong army, which has been involved directly and indirectly in Thailand's politics. 18 coups were committed by the military, in the name of peacefulness, in the name of stability, and the role of the monarchy to upkeep the country's stability and peacefulness is similarly showcased. So during 1980, which saw the downfalls of various military dictatorships in Asia, Marcos in the Philippines, Suharto in Indonesia, Thailand was then well regarded as Southeast Asia's beacons of democracy. We were that. We were very proud of being a beacon of democracy in those years. And many people claim, without having the monarchy, we would have these ruthless, cruel dictators, the like of Marcos, the like of Suharto. True or not, but many people believe in that. So, and the monarchy and the military have been working very well together to upkeep, the so-called peacefulness in the country. But of course, the rise to power of Thaksin has really shaken up, these core institutions, and the thing is the chaos, the confusion, the turmoil, which is reigning the country now, I think is a reflection of an attempt to try to get rid of Thaksin and his power. Why? Because Thaksin has been doing very well in the current system. They try to crush it. They staged the coup in 2006. They already reformed the country, but now they are saying they are going to reform the country even more, but not many people have their luxury of time, for more reformations or whatsoever. I like to quote an advisor to Japanese investors in Thailand. He was interviewed in a program Asia This Week by NHK World last week, and I quote that he said that Thaksin was doing very well in the current political system, and he said that the crux of the matter, the very reason that prompt people to go out to topple him, is that they want to change the system. Those people who are opposed to the government and the elite simply want to overhaul the entire system. They want to make the system not workable for Thaksin anymore. That's their main reason for that. So, yep, and so I think that's some of my notes and some of my opinions about the political situation now. Thank you.
Thank you, Kun Pipop. Perhaps we would hear more from him later on if we have more time. Kun Pipop has told us about this political crisis that has swallowed, I think, everyone in, including the foreign media, of course. I think this time of the protest, we have seen members of the foreign media being quite critical of the demonstration and the protests. And I think for that reason, we have seen strong reaction from some section of the people who support the protests. And I think we have seen this before. What Kun Pipop told us earlier on about the article attacking foreign media like the BBC and the CNN. But this time coming from member of the media, of the Thai media themselves, quite a senior member of the Thai media. I think it's quite a new thing. And I think the other point which is very interesting is about Kun Pipop and perhaps a number of other people among the audience have to do this cracking of the myths themselves, the myths that have been presented or repeated by members of the media. For example, the things about vote buying. I think we have seen the repetition of these myths in the Thai media, as well as from some quarters of the foreign media as well, that, vote buying is such a decisive factor in Thai politics that, of course, the Thai politics is now so dirty that we have to clean it up very drastically. So these are the 2 points that I think are very interesting from what Kun Pipop told us. Kun Pipop talked about what we see as the middle class warfare. I don't know whether anyone will have any reflection on that later on. I have heard about arguments that it is not. But sitting here among us, I think, is Kun Pravit. He's member of the Thai media. He's been a reporter working in this system for such a long time. I think he has a lot to say and to share with us, especially when he's been working among Thai journalists who have been members of the middle class like himself. So can I ask Kun Pravit to share your experience with us, please?
Good evening. I thought Ajahn PIRONGRONG would be speaking first, but anyhow, I'll be very brief as there are 3 more speakers waiting, and I hope we will have plenty of time for debate and discussions afterward. Let me first start by continuing on the thread of Kun Pipop. These issues of xenophobia, I would put it this way. Last week, Kun Suthep Thirksuban, the leader of the People's Democratic Reform Committee, have urged foreign correspondents in Thailand to not use their Western feelings to judge what is going on in Thailand. All right, that's his word. Okay, you do not use your feelings from your context to judge what's happening on the streets, what's happening in Thailand. Now, whatever Kun Pipop had just said earlier is not an isolated incident, and it's not just Kun Suthep. And I would like to just give you some example by random, and by no means it meant to be personal takes on the Bangkok Post, the rival newspaper where where I work for the nation. And again, please, I'm not speaking on behalf of the nation this evening. I'm just on my own. So now we have the live section, and those who are English speakers, I presume this is one of my favorite sort of light-hearted sections. But when it comes to politics, at sometimes some of the columnists on live sections would do write about politics, and this is from the December 12th issues of the Bangkok Post live section, and we got Kun Pongpet Megloi, the travels editor, writing on the only path to true democracy. And if I may just quote a little from this. Thailand has never been lucky enough to have a clean general election. It omits the truth that vote buying, not to mention electoral fraud, has been rife in this country, especially in the past decade. And that's why a lot of people, Yingluck supporters and gullible foreign media, understandably excluded, were not happy when they heard a snap election might take place in early February. Gullible is the key word for the foreign correspondents here in Thailand, and I consulted the Oxford Advanced Learners Encyclopedic Dictionary, and of course it's an adjective which was described as someone who is willing to believe anything or anyone and easily deceived. Now, Kun Pongpet Megloi is not alone. It just happened. My second example to again come from the Bangkok Post, partly because I don't need to translate, right? There's no issues about the debate about the translation. This time coming from a long-term expat writer, Kun Andrew Biggs, who is very well known, teaches English, and of course he writes every Sunday on the Brunch magazine, and I just torn it out. It looks really tattered, and that's my apology for that. But let me just go straight on this article, which is again just came out on Sunday on the 15th. Page 4, you know, the sanuk or the fun section, supposed to be fun, but on this article, Polling Day's Purple Patch, Kun Andrew wrote, and part of it reads, I think it's the 5th or the 6th paragraph, the root problems is in vote buying. Outside of Bangkok, in the north and the northeast, people are paid to vote. Then Kun Andrew, I skip a paragraph, and Kun Andrew went on. Every single problem that arises in the administrations of the Kingdom of Thailand can be traced back to this simple situation. I think we don't need to go and take up courses in political science. This simple sentence could well sum up what's happening into Thailand if we were to believe Kun Andrew. And I continue, open parenthesis. This is why I cringe each time CNN speaks of the elected Thai governments being persecuted by a mob of protesters demanding the government's ouster. If only life were as simple as a 15-second CNN soundbite, and if only CNN, an open bracket, and if only CNN could find reporters who would take time to truly understand the situation. End of quotation. Now, I personally have been also fairly viciously attacked after I wrote a letter to the well-heeled protester in Bangkok on the Nation, which was then subsequently translated and uploaded on Prasha Thai. In the letter, one of my arguments is that there is this class dimensions of the conflict wherein a majority of the middle class and the elites in Bangkok, I'm not saying all because I counted myself as one of this lot, although we do think differently on politics. They feel very frustrated that their party of choice, the Democrat Party, repeatedly lose the elections. And as we speak, even with all sorts of suggestions and proposals being made as to how the regulations could be reformed or twisted or tweaked. I think many of them deep down do realize that the only way to stop a party like that of Thaksin's Pheu Thai party from winning again is to ensure that majority of the people will no longer have the right to vote. And that's simply because majority of the peoples are not Bangkokians. And it goes back to this whole issues whether there was 150,000 protesters or 5 million protesters out on the streets on December 9th or not. And it's December 9, not December 10, Kun PIPOB. They're still the minority. Or we are still the minority. If you count myself, I didn't vote for the Democrat Party. Let me just explain, because some people have been accusing me of being pro-Thaksin simply because I didn't vote for the Democrat Party the last time around. And the reason was simple. The reason was that I couldn't stand the way signs were put up live fire zone, back in 2010. But is there or is there not a class system in Thailand? I wouldn't say Thailand has the sort of rigid class system as in the United Kingdom, for example. But they exist. The dividing line is education, access to education, or basically education and wealth. And what we're seeing actually, of course, Thaksin is filthy rich. And the guy is probably corrupt. So what we're seeing is a clash between the old money represented by the Sions of the Bunrod, Bia Singh, etc., and the new money, the class wealth of Thaksin, who loves Louis Vuitton, we went shopping at Louis Vuitton, at Champs-Élysées, when the red shirts were facing the military in the heart of Bangkok back in 2010. But on top of that, let us be fair, I would say some 70 to 80% of the middle class and the elites are on the side of the Democrat Party. They are so-called royalists. And only the minority of the middle class and the elite are on the other side. On the other hand, majority of the working class, the grassroots, are on the Pheu Thai or Thaksin side, the so-called red shirts. And that's why the Democrat Party kept on losing the election. For those who say there's no class system, I say it harshly to them that then why do people need to crawl to seek an audience with His Majesty? But I'm not alone. Let me quote Thai Rat, which is a paper Kun SUMETH, who will be, the next or the last speaker is coming from. This is on Sunday, and in case you don't know Thai Rat, and I presume you all know Thai Rat is the widest circulated Thai language broadsheet. I'll say my broadsheet, say my tabloid. The format is broadsheet, but some might call it a tabloid, but that's not the point. Every Sunday, they have quite a fairly interesting commentary from the political desk. And on just the weekend, there was something on Thai politics. Of course, it's always politics. It's written by the political desk. But let me just read this, translate this part here. And I open the quotation. The Thaksin regime were born and became powerful and effective over the past many years, did not came out of nowhere. This is not just about vote buying or evil capitalist, but it is rooted in the fact that Thai society has such a discrepancy between rural poor, rural grassroots, and the middle class as well as the elite. And the discrepancy between the chances and access and unequal access to natural and other resources. This led to the gap between the rich and the poor. End of quotation. So, the Thai media I go to my second point, and there's just 3 points. In general, thus, more of a reflection of the middle class bias and views towards what's happening in Thailand. I sadly have to acknowledge this being partly part of the problem. If you look at all the media, not even Thairat would quote anything written by any local papers outside Bangkok. So we're talking about a situation where Bangkok is a private city and the media is part of this pinnacle of power. And the fact that most of us who works in the media at least have a university degrees. These days you can't even apply if you don't have a college degree. It makes, I think somehow it twisted many of our views towards what's really happening in Thailand. And people sometimes mistaken Bangkok for being the whole of Thailand. My last point, I will just show Thomas Fuller's article, Thomas, from the New York Times. And this is the front page of formerly the Herald Tribune. I used to subscribe when it was a Herald Tribune. I changed the name to International New York Times, but never mind that. Let me just bring you to the attention of the last week's edition, Friday, is that Friday? Yeah, Friday the 13th of December. Thai protester issues a call for less, and mean less democracy, okay? I don't think they have the space. And then the second sub-headline, demonstrators seeking reduced democracy and greater role for the king. Greater role for the king. Let me just put it this way. I can't, although this thing is available in Thailand, if I read some of the paragraph here, I could risk violating the less majestic law. But that's not the point. Why am I pointing this out? I'm pointing this out to highlight the fact that Thai media's analysis and discussions of politics is greatly limited or severely limited by the fact that we cannot discuss about the monarchy institutions in a critical and honest manner, unlike the foreign media. So here in this article, there's a talk about how, from the writer's opinion, the monarchy institutions comes into the equation of the current crisis. You will not see anything like this in the Thai media, and that is because of the less majestic law. And because of that, our understanding of the current crisis is severely limited. Despite the very fact that the anti-government protesters said they are so loyal to the throne, they raise up the royal flag, the royal standard, they use the color yellow. So I'll leave the rest for the questions and answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khun Pravit, for sharing with us all those comments. So I think it is quite clear from what Khun Pravit has said that the certain understanding about vote buying in Thai politics is shared not only by some parts of the Thai media, but also some parts of the foreigners who work for Thai media as well, and possibly beyond that boundary as well, I think. But I guess nobody has yet to accuse Andrew Big of being bought up by anyone. Whereas if you are acted the other way around, you will be accused of being bought by Mr. Thaksin Chinawat. So let me warn you against that too. Anyway, Khun Pravit has told us about what he sees the limitation as of the Thai journalists, and he think part of it is being members of the middle class. I don't know about this because Kun Pravit himself is a member of the middle class, and a number of people here are also members of middle class, I think. And I think when we talk about the limitation of the Thai media, I think we possibly will have to look beyond that. Thai Rat newspaper is the biggest, the largest circulated newspaper in Thai language. And it has been here years and years and years, withstanding all this political crisis. So Thai Rat certainly has something that other people doesn't have. To be able to be here for such a long time and to be able to sustain, at that top level of the newspapers in Thailand. Kun Sumedh here, I'm very sorry that we speak in English and nobody translates for him in Thai. Okay, right. We're going to have Kun Phai doing the translation. Phai from Pracha Thai helping with the translation. Okay, you can stay where you are. But because Kun Sumedh works for both Thai Rat newspaper and he also a member of this TCIJ. So I think he's in a very unique position to tell us more about the limitation, the restrictions, or the difficulties that the Thai media and the Thai media clubs in general find in doing the coverage about the political crisis. คุณสุเมธเดี๋ยวคุณฝ้ายจะช่วยแปลให้นะคะความขัดแย้ง
ที่จะพูดออกวันนี้ผมอยากรู้ว่าไม่ทราบว่าเพื่อนพี่ๆนักข่าวต่างประเทศที่อยู่ที่นี่มีใครอยู่ตั้งแต่ปี1997บ้างไหมฮะการชุมนุมเรียกร้องรัฐธรรมนูญปี40มีใครอยู่ในเหตุการณ์นั้นบ้างไหมครับ97
อ๋อ1997 First of all, I would like to know who the foreign correspondent out there who have been here since 1997 1997ที่รัฐธรรมนูญ40รัฐธรรมนูญsince the 1997 constitution has been used. Who has been here since then? Only Nick and anybody else? Someone else? Oh, Jenny is that there? Only two. แค่2 คน
โอเคถ้าอย่างนั้นอยากจะเท้าความให้เห็นว่าที่ต้องพูดประเด็นนี้เพราะว่าบริบทของสงครามข่าวสารณเวลานี้เนี่ยมันเปลี่ยนไปณช่วงปี2535ถึง2540สถานการณ์ในเมืองไทยหรือการนำเสนอข่าวของมีเดียไทยเนี่ยมันค่อนข้างไปทิศทางเดียวกันหมดค่อนข้างไปทิศทางเดียวกัน
I would like to explain a little bit about the context during 1997 and a bit before that since the 1992 uprising because the Thai media at the time the direction of the reporting and the editorial tone has been quite homogeneous then at the time
เนื่องจากณขณะนั้นเนี่ยมีสื่อทางเลือกไม่มากนักยังมีแค่หนังสือพิมพ์หลักๆอยู่ไม่กี่10ฉบับแล้วก็มีสถานีโทรทัศน์แค่ฟรีทีวีที่เป็นหลักอยู่แค่ 4-5 ช่องเท่านั้น
There was few alternative media. Then there was only mainstream newspaper about 10-ish newspaper and only like 4 or 5 mainstream like free TV stations then.
ดังนั้นการรายงานข่าวส่วนใหญ่จะค่อนข้างไปทิศทางเดียวกันแล้วก็นำเสนอในหลักการเดียวกันนะฮะ
So the content or the direction of the presentation of the news was quite homogeneous and the same direction.
จนกระทั่ง เกิดระยะเปลี่ยนผ่านเพราะเมื่อมีรัฐธรรมนูญปี 40 มีสื่อใหม่ๆ เกิดมากมายแม้แต่ฟรีทีวีเราก็เกิด ITV ขึ้นมา
So since the 1997 Constitution, there was more new media flourishing, like ITV, for example.
อินเทอร์เน็ตเริ่มมีบทบาทในสังคมข่าวสาร
Internet was playing more roles in the information and communication in Thai society.
ณตอนนั้นก็สถานการณ์สื่อมันก็ยังไม่ได้วุ่นวายหรือมีคอนฟ lict อะไรมากนักจนอย่างที่เราเห็นในภาพปัจจุบัน
And so the conflict then among the media was almost non-existent, not as today, not as much as today.
จนกระทั่งประมาณปี 2544 นะครับเริ่มเข้าสู่ยุคใหม่ของสื่อมากขึ้นมีการเปลี่ยนแปลงทางสื่อมีการเลือกข้างระหว่างผู้สื่อฝ่ายที่สนับสนุนรัฐบาลกับฝ่ายที่ไม่เห็นด้วยกับรัฐบาลแต่ตอนนั้นนั่นน่ะมันยังไม่แน่ชัดสถานการณ์มันยังไม่แน่ชัดมากนัก
Until 2001, the media started to sort of be more partisan and be more polarizing. There was a pro-government media and also anti-government media, but then the situation was not as obvious at the time.
เราเริ่มเห็นภาพชัดเจนมากขึ้นเมื่อเกิดกลุ่มพันธมิตรขึ้นในปี 2548
กลุ่มอะไรอะ
พันธมิตร
ไม่เป็นไรค่ะ
เราเกิดกลุ่มพันธมิตรประชาชนเพื่อประชาธิปไตยนำโดยคุณสนธิลิ้มทองกุลณตอนนั้นเนี่ยเราจะเริ่มเห็นความชัดเจนมากขึ้นเมื่อกลุ่มผู้ชุมนุมซึ่งครั้งนั้นเนี่ยเป็นครั้งแรกที่กลุ่มผู้ชุมนุมทางการเมืองมีกระบอกเสียงของตัวเองโดยไม่พึ่งพาสื่อกระแสหลัก
But the conflict started to be more obvious when in 2008 the PAD started to carry out more political protests, and it was then that the protesters started to have their own sort of the media wing of their own without their having to rely on like the mainstream media.
จากจุดนั้นเองเนี่ยมันจะทำให้กลุ่มจากเดิมเนี่ยที่ผ่านมาในประวัติศาสตร์การเมืองไทยเนี่ยกลุ่มผู้ชุมนุมไม่ว่าจะเป็นระดับไหนก็ตามเนี่ยจากที่เคยเสพสื่อกระแสหลักก็จะมาติดตามรับฟังข้อมูลข่าวสารจากกระบอกเสียงของกลุ่มที่ตัวเองสนับสนุน
So then the political protesters they didn't have to listen to or consume information from the mainstream media anymore, but now they started to listen or take information only from their own political groups media.
ประกอบกับช่วงนั้นเนี่ยมันเป็นยังอยู่รอยต่อของวิกฤตเศรษฐกิจทำให้รายการข่าวในฟรีทีวีเนี่ยค่อนข้างหายไปหลายทีวีหลายช่องให้ความสำคัญกับในเรื่องของเอนเตอร์เทนเมนต์มากขึ้นเพราะว่าเป็นช่องทางที่จะหารายได้มากกว่ารายการข่าว
So because of the economic crisis at the time, there were fewer news or more serious news show because all the media, all the TV started to do more entertaining program because they can get more profit doing so.
จากจุดเริ่มต้นเมื่อปี 49 ต่อเนื่องมาสถานการณ์การชุมนุมของกลุ่มเลดเชิร์ตเสื้อแดงแล้วก็สลับไปเป็นเยลโล่เชิร์ตสับไปสับมาอยู่กว่า10 ปีนะฮะมันก็มีความแตกต่างของสื่อมากขึ้นสื่อกระแสหลักที่เป็นนักข่าวภาคสนามจะโดนกดดันมากขึ้นจากการทำหน้าที่ในสนาม
So the past 10 years, where since 2006, we saw this red shirt and yellow shirt and red shirt conflict. The media started to be more diverse and polarizing, and so there were more pressure on the journalists who were on the field as well, as they felt that there were more pressure from the protesters or for the political groups on them.
จากความรุนแรงแล้วก็มาความกดดันที่เข้าสู่นักข่าวภาคสนามที่ปฏิบัติงานในพื้นที่ในช่วงเวลานั้นเนี่ยมันทำให้บางสำนักข่าวเลือกที่จะเซฟที่จะเลือกสืบข่าวจากโซเชียลเน็ตเวิร์กเลือกสืบข่าวจากสำนักข่าวที่อยู่ในพื้นที่คืออาจจะซื้อข่าวหรือว่าขอข้อมูลข่าวสารด้วยจากเทคโนโลยีต่างๆหรือเลือกที่จะนำเสนอข้อมูลตามกระบอกเสียงของกลุ่มผู้ชุมนุมหรือรัฐบาล
So since there were more and more violence from the situation, the agency, the news channel or the newspaper started to playing safe by using sources more on social media and also buying more news from the news agency without sending journalists on the ground, and or even playing safe by choosing to present the editorial tones according to the government or according to the protesters.
เมื่อในช่วง 2-3 ปีหลังความขัดแย้งทางการเมืองค่อนข้างรุนแรงมากขึ้นไม่ว่าจะเป็นรัฐบาลอภิสิทธิ์หรือรัฐบาลยิ่งลักษณ์เข้ามาก็มีแรงกดดันเพรสเชอร์ทั้งสองฝ่ายไม่ว่าสื่อนั้นจะเป็นสื่อของรัฐหรือสื่อเอกชนก็ตามการกดดันนี้มันไม่ใช่หมายความว่ามีสร้างกระแสคุกคามหรือกดดันนักข่าวที่ปฏิบัติงานในพื้นที่หรือว่าที่เราเรียกว่านักข่าวภาคสนามแต่มันยังรวมถึงการกดดันแทรกแซงผ่านสปอนเซอร์การอุดหนุนงบโฆษณาซึ่งทำให้กระบวนการที่จะเปิดการรับฟังข่าวสารทั้งสองฝ่ายนี้ไม่มี
So for the past couple of years, the violence and all the pressure on the media has been more aggravating, whether it's the opposite government or Yingluck government, because not only there were more pressure on the journalists on the ground, but also via the sponsors or the advertisement revenue. As a result, there were fewer spaces, or there were few, like the media become, like they had lesser space in terms of providing platform for both sides, on presenting both sides of information.
เมื่อสถานการณ์มันรุนแรงมากขึ้นกลุ่มผู้ชุมนุมก็สร้างกระบอกเสียงตัวเองมากขึ้นมีหลาย channel หลายกลุ่มอย่างเช่นอย่างปัจจุบันกลุ่มที่เรียกฝ่ายต่อต้านรัฐบาลในปัจจุบันก็มีสื่อที่เป็นกระบอกเสียงของตัวเองเนี่ยที่เป็นทีวีดาวเทียมเนี่ยอยู่ถึง 3-4 ช่องไม่ใช่แค่บูสกายที่เดียว
So now that we have seen more flourishing media who more like partisan or the sort of media wing for the political groups, like for the opposition we saw like satellite TVs like Blue Sky Channel for example, and actually a few more. ฝ่ายสนับสนุนรัฐบาลก็เช่นเดียวกัน And also the same with the pro-government protests, pro-government supporters also have their own media channels.
นอกจากทางทีวีแล้วอินเทอร์เน็ตโซเชียลมีเดียต่างๆก็มีการเลือกที่จะสัมภาษณ์นักวิชาการสื่อมวลชนที่มีความเห็นสนับสนุนของฝ่ายตนไม่ว่าจะฝ่ายไหน
And also in terms of the internet news and social media, we saw more selective presentation of news, like how they shows news sources, or they only shows academics who sort of have the similar views of their political opinions.
จากที่กล่าวมามันก็เลยทำให้เห็นว่าสื่อกระแสหลักไม่ว่าจะเป็นทีวีหรือวิทยุหรือสื่อหนังสือพิมพ์ในปัจจุบันค่อนข้างได้รับผลกระทบกลุ่มประชาชนที่สนับสนุนทางรัฐบาลแล้วก็กลุ่มที่ต่อต้านรัฐบาลไม่ให้ความสำคัญไม่ให้ความเชื่อถือ
So the anti-government protests then sort of views these mainstream media, whether it's TV or radio or newspaper, as not having so much credibility.
มันจึงเกิดการปลุกกระแสขึ้นมาจากกลุ่มผู้ชุมนุมทำให้มีกลุ่มมวลชนจำนวนมากเข้าไปปิดล้อมสถานีโทรทัศน์ต่างๆได้
And so the anti-government protesters have used this sentiment to invoke these views to sort of protest against these mainstream media that we saw the past weeks.
นี่คือสถานการณ์ภาพรวมซึ่งที่เกิดขึ้นณตอนนี้นะฮะ
So this was the general overview of the media situation right now.
ถามว่าทางสมาคมนักข่าวหนังสือพิมพ์ TJA นิ่งนอนใจกับปัญหานี้หรือเปล่าในฐานะตัวแทนของ TJA บอกได้เลยว่าเราไม่ได้นิ่งนอนใจต่อปัญหานี้เรามีการพูดคุยกับแกนนำทุกฝ่ายทั้งทางตรงและทางลับ
So as the representative of the Thai Journalists Association, we have not taking this for granted. We've taken this very seriously. We've discussed with the protest leaders in a public way and also like behind the doors way. Yeah.
หลายคนอาจจะมองว่าทางสมาคมนักข่าวหนังสือพิมพ์แห่งประเทศไทยเราแอคชั่นช้าไป
But I admitted that as a TJA we have acted a bit slowly on this issue.
แต่เขาบอกว่าเราไม่สามารถด้วยสถานการณ์ความขัดแย้งที่รุนแรงและหนักหน่วงในปัจจุบันเราไม่สามารถที่จะแอคชั่นอะไรได้รวดเร็วเพราะสิ่งที่เราต้องการสิ่งที่เราคำนึงที่สุดก็คือความปลอดภัยของนักข่าวภาคสนาม
But due to the acuteness of this political situation right now, it's quite difficult to carry any prompt action because what we have to think the most is the safety of the journalists on the ground.
มีที่ในขณะที่เราถูกกล่าวหาว่าสื่อกระแสหลักถูกแล้วก็สื่อทั้งทีวีหนังสือพิมพ์วิทยุก็ตามที่เราถูกกล่าวหาว่าไม่ได้รายงานความจริงหรือไม่ได้รายงานข้อเท็จจริงให้กับประชาชนนั้นเนี่ยในข้อเท็จจริงเนี่ยเรามีพวกเราทุกค่ายทุกฉบับทุกสำนักเนี่ยอยู่ในพื้นที่เนี่ยเกือบ1,000 คน
We were accused of not reporting the truth objectively and thoroughly, but the fact was that we have about thousands of journalists from almost every newspaper and TV on the ground, on about 1,000 people, journalists on the ground. So,
ดังนั้นความปลอดภัยสิ่งหนึ่งที่เราต้องนี่คือความปลอดภัยที่ส่วนหนึ่งที่เราต้องคำนึงถึงนี่มากที่สุดเพราะว่าเรามีบทเรียนมาตั้งแต่ปี2551ที่ตอนพันธมิตรชุมนุมต่อเนื่องถึงปิดล้อมทำเนียบแล้วก็ตอนที่ทางกลุ่มเสื้อแดงปิดล้อมทำเนียบในปี2552
So basically we have to concern about the safety of the journalists because we have learned we have the lessons learned from 2008 and 2009 where the yellow shirt and the red shirts have seized the government's house.
เมื่อกลุ่มผู้ชุมนุมเข เขาเห็นว่าเราไม่รายงานตรงหรือรายงานไม่เหมือนกับที่กระบอกเสียงของกลุ่มผู้ชุมนุมรายงานออกไปความกดดันหรือการคุกคามกับสื่อในสนามก็ตามมา
So when the protesters thought that we have not reported as accurately or objectively as expected by the anti-government protesters, of course the pressure would be on us and on the journalists on the ground.
หลายท่านคงเคยเห็นปลอกแขนอันนี้
A lot of you have probably seen this band.
ปลอกแขนนี้เกิดขึ้นในปี 2552 ตอนเสื้อแดงชุมนุมปิดล้อมทำเนียบรัฐบาล
This was actually stemmed from the 2009 where the incident where the red shirt have seized the government house.
มันอาจจะไม่ใช่ปลอกแขนศักดิ์สิทธิ์ที่ทำให้ทุกคนปลอดภัยแต่มันเป็นมาตรการหนึ่งที่เราได้เจรจากับทางแกนนำที่ชุมนุมว่าถ้าเห็นบุคคลที่สวมปลอกแขนนี้เขาคือสื่อมวลชนต้องไม่มีการคุกคามและไม่มีการทำร้าย
It was probably not like the most holy ban to prevent dangers to happen, but this one we have negotiated with the anti-government protesters at the time that if they saw this ban, they must not attack or the journalist.
แต่ปลอกแขนนี้ก็มีปัญหาอีกครั้งในปี 2553 มันมีการหลุดมีการกระจายออกไปยังคนที่ไม่ใช่สื่อมวลชน
But there was a problem in 2010 when these bans were distributed to those who were not the media.
ฝ่ายเจ้าที่ของรัฐอ้างว่าปลอกแขนนี้เชื่อถือไม่ได้
So the authorities claimed that these bans were not credible anymore.
และไม่รองรับความปลอดภัยให้กับสื่อมวลชน
And they could not guarantee the safety of the journalist.
จนมีการทำข้อตกลงระหว่างเจ้าที่ตำรวจกับสมาคมสื่อไทยใหม่ก็คือมีปลอกแขนรุ่นนี้
So there was another agreement between the police and the TGA that they have come up with a new version of the badge. So that was that one.
ซึ่งตัวนี้เราเพื่อให้เป็นหลักประกันหรือเอาไว้ให้เพื่อนนักข่าวด้วยกันได้เห็นและได้ช่วยเหลือกันได้ทันท่วงทีหากเห็นสื่อมวลชนคนไหนได้รับบาดเจ็บไม่ว่าจะเป็นสื่อไทยหรือสื่อต่างชาติ
So this was used for the journalists to help each other. If they saw any fellow journalists got hurt, then they could help each other. Thai or foreign journalist.
แต่มันก็ไม่ได้ช่วยให้สถานการณ์ของนักข่าวของเราที่ทำงานในสนามเล่าจากการถูกคุกคาม
But in fact, it did not really prevent journalists on the ground from intimidations or threats.
เพราะสงครามข่าวสารที่มีการโหมกันทั้งสองฝ่ายทั้งฝ่ายสนับสนุนรัฐบาลแล้วก็ฝ่ายที่ต่อต้านรัฐบาล
Due to the information warfare between the anti-government protesters and the pro-government supporters.
มีการปลุกระดมแล้วก็มีการโฆษณาชวนเชื่อสร้างความชอบธรรมให้กับฝ่ายของทั้งสองฝ่าย
There were provocations and propaganda from both sides to claim their legitimacy.
โศกนาฏกรรมที่เห็นได้ชัดคือเหตุการณ์ที่มหาลัยรามคำแหงเมื่อเร็วๆนี้
As most obvious was the situation at near Ram Khamhaeng University recently.
ถึงวันนี้ยังไม่มีฝ่ายไหนแสดงความรับผิดชอบว่ามีส่วนร่วมในการปลุกระดมจนเกิดความรุนแรง
So until today there was no responsibility claimed by any of the sides from the incident.
มันถึงนี่คือความยากลำบากของการทำข่าวสถานการณ์ความรุนแรงในปัจจุบัน
So this is the difficulty of the reporting for the media in current conflict.
ทางสมาคมนักข่าวก็พยายามเฝ้าระวังด้วยการสร้างจัดเครือข่ายนักข่าวภาคสนาม ภายใต้คณะอนุกรรมการฝ่ายสิทธิเสรีภาพ แล้วก็ปฏิรูปสื่อเข้ามาดูแลในเรื่องนี้
So what TJ was trying to do is to create the network of the journalists on the field under the subcommittee of the Rights and Freedom and Media Reform Subcommittee under the TJA.
ก็ยังผมก็คงไม่มีอะไร
Okay, so this.
ถ้ามีอะไรสงสัย
Okay.
ให้ถามแล้วกัน
Okay, so I shall finish my presentation now, and if you have any questions later, you can ask me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much คุณสุเมธขอบคุณมากนะคะที่แชร์ข้อมูล